and or updates, curriculum, lesson plans for family support services. Okay, so I can either pick develop or I can pick update lesson plans for support services. That's what I'm bolding. So then I come, let's say we've done all those. Now the 4 RTC means that there are more responsibilities. I just didn't want to put them on here so I could see them on the sheet. So then we go to this one here, specialized experience number 1, utilizing theories, principles, and practices. Okay, so using methods of family readiness groups, life skills education, and or deployment issues. So they want to say that I've used methods dealing with readiness, life skill, and deployment. So I want to make sure that I'm answering that somewhere in there. Whether it's been a pre-deployment briefing that I've worked at, or a reintegration briefing that I've done, or the PDF line. Listen to this one. Practical knowledge of military life, providing information and answering questions for family members. Okay. Knowledge, military life, provide answers to family members. Pretty easy. Advise customers on work-life service programs. So advise customers on programs. So what I like to do then is, once I've got this page here, I save that as announcement breakdown colored. Because I'm going to come back to this later on. Now what I want to start doing, after I've bolded my key words and my concepts, I want to come in here and I want to start the sorting. Okay? So this is the grouping color word breakdown. Now that I have the color breakdown, I go back in and bold the similar words and concepts. Then I put those words in 4 areas under each other, and I start with the R1 and work my way down. In the 3rd group, I have non-clinical counseling 3 times, and advising is another word for counseling. We can see that right here in the 3rd grouping. So I start with the first responsibility, and I go, okay, I'm looking at providing workshops to family members. Well, as I look through the rest of the responsibilities, it's not talking about workshops. Let me back this up right here, right? So when I go to specialized experience, I go, okay, well, are they talking about workshops somewhere in here? Boom, develop workshops, number 3. So what I do is I copy and I paste that number 3 under the number 1. You see that? So now I'm going to go down to KSAs. What KSA would go along with workshops? Well, I could use oral communication or written communication, since there's no word that directly says workshops. Because a workshop, I could have been the orator, like I'm doing right now, or I could have been the developer, where I wrote the slides and I wrote the presentation. So what I did was, I just put oral communication, because for most workshops, it's something that I'm going to teach. Then you go to the next duty, or the next responsibility, and you go through the specialized experience, the KSAs, and the questionnaire questions, bringing like keywords and concepts together. Because here's the thing. I only have to say it once on my resume. And what you're going to find, and what we're starting to see, is that they talk about workshops and the responsibilities, they talk about it in the specialized experience, they talk about it in the KSAs, and sometimes they may talk about it in the questionnaire questions. Do I have to write 4 2 to 4 line paragraphs for each one of those? No. I should bring all those together, because those are common ideas, and then see what's different about them, and then add the differences to my common concept to write my 2 to 4 line paragraph, so I get credit for all 3 of these with 1 2 to 4 line paragraph. Right? And as I said, if you'll notice here in the 3rd grouping, conducts an individual non-clinical counseling. Right here in the specialized experience, one-on-one non-clinical counseling. In my KSAs, they talked about counseling. So all those should go together. And then in the questionnaire questions, the very first one, advise customers. Well, if I advise you, I'm counseling you. Okay? It's, again, that thesaurus is awesome. So again, I put these 4 together. This is the one we're going to focus on for our next thing. Once I've done all my grouping, now be advised, not everything will group together. Sometimes you will have a questionnaire question that's alone. Or you'll have 2 questionnaire questions that are talking about the same thing, then put them together. It does happen that way. Once we've done our sorting, now it's time for us to look at doing our free writing. So word breakdown, free writing, 2 to 4 line paragraph. We'll take one grouping to conduct our free writing, and we'll see that the common thread in these areas are counseling. So we want to include what's different with what's common. So we can see in our free writing, we have the counseling in there 3 different times, and then we can also see the remaining groups and members that not all items are listed in the 4 areas. Now we need to quantify the paragraph after we free write it. So first, I free write it, right? I look at non-clinical, counseling, and advising. Now what's different? established by the director or supervisor. That's what's different. Applied techniques or methods. Then work-life service programs. That's a little different because we don't see it in the other three. So I want to make sure that when I'm talking about non-clinical counseling, I want to talk about also that are established by the director or supervisor by applying techniques or methods for social programs. So when I look at my free writing, I did it this way. Conducted one-on-one and group counseling sessions, because now we're covering our key area, counseling. Using both electronic and hard copy assessments in accordance with the section supervisor policy to promote professional and personal growth through the knowledge of work-life service systems, advised airmen on utilizing programs such as relocation, finance, and transition to be prepared for and to develop themselves and their families both personally and professionally. So you can see here that established by the director, is that in my 2 to 4 line? Sure. With the section supervisor's policy. Applying to techniques? Sure. We talked about it right here. I conducted it, and then I utilized both electronic and hard copy assessments. Those are different techniques for counseling. Then I says work-life services. And then I said right here, programs such as relocation, finance, and transition. So the whole paragraph is 2 to 4 lines, and it's talking about counseling or non-clinical counseling, but it's also covering all 4 areas of these requirements. So when I go to copy and paste this bullet into my resume builder, under wherever I feel I have done it the most in my chronological period, I'm going to get credit for all 4 of these areas in this one paragraph. I didn't have to do 4 2 to 4 line paragraphs, I only had to do 1. But you know what would make it better? Would be to quantify it. So now I need to come back and restructure it a little bit. So now I'm asking that job, how often did I do it? So remember, I'm looking at my chronological period, and I'm going, where do I have it? So now I go, okay, this is where I had it, October 2012 to present. And I can say that I have a number as 12,840 or 12.8K or approximately 12,000. It's great to use those words approximate, about, around, those types of things are totally fine. But now let's read our paragraph. Conducted approximately 12,000 one-on-one group and counseling sessions using some 10,000 electronic and hard copy assessments in accordance with the section supervisor's policy to promote professional and personal growth through the knowledge of work-life services, advised around 60,000 airmen on utilizing the program, such as I went back and quantified using those about, around, approximately, estimated. Those are appropriate. Nobody's going to ask you for a document that says, oh really, 60,000 people? I want to see that. Okay? We're taking your word as being true. Now, I always encourage you to do a lead-in. It's not mandatory, but it's a great thing on your resume because it allows whoever's reviewing it to look at the lead-in and go, ooh, I'm very interested in assessments. What do they have under that? And go right to that. That's totally up to you. It is not mandatory as part of a federal resume. Just like the key accomplishment is not mandatory. But it's a great device that helps an HR person to understand a little bit more about you. And when we talk about the key accomplishment, though it's not mandatory, it can be an added item that allows the reviewer to connect with you and ultimately decide if you fit with their team. Okay? This is placed after all your free written paragraphs are put in under that work experience, then you put a key accomplishment. So let's look at my example. I did a lead-in of assessments and counseling. Why? Because counseling is the main focus of this. And then I put in my paragraph. And then what I did was I hit a space because this was the only paragraph I was going to list under that job. And then I put key accomplishment. And after that, I can put anything in there. It could be a decoration, it could be a monetary award, it could be a promotion. On one of my resumes, my key accomplishment was I was excited for the fact that during the 4 years that I taught tech school, our average student GPA in my classes was 97%, and I only had 2 failures, and those were both medical. That's something that I took pride in. So that shows whoever's looking at my document that that key accomplishment during the time that I worked at that job, I was about people development. And so that was a huge thing. Again, it's whatever you want it to be. So let's go into Resume Builder, since we've got a few more minutes left. This ensures you meet the requirements. It's great for you to use it. It may not populate to every federal agency, but it will for most. Again, you already know how many resumes can be put in there. When you go to create the job, you're going to create the name of it right here. Usually I will put the job title of whatever job announcement I have in here. That will go right here, Work-Life Specialist. Now again, I like to pick 5 different ones, and I like to build 5 different ones. And then I just modify it for each job announcement. Next, you're going to go into putting in your work experience. So you're going to put the name of the company, what your job title was, your address, your start date, your start year, your end date. Now, if you're currently doing it, then it's going to be present. Then you're going to go down here to average hours per week. Never put more than 50. 50 indicates you have a time management problem. I get it. When you're in the military, we all work more than 50 hours, okay, because we're doing more with less people. But ideally, when you're working with a company, you want them to understand, hey, 45 allows them to know I'm more than willing to work beyond my 40-hour work week if that's what it takes to get the job done. When it comes to contact my supervisor, it's either yes or contact me first. Okay? Never, ever, ever, never, ever select no. Now, remember, your supervisor, when we put yes, your supervisor's information is going to be here. So don't add your supervisor to your references. They're already here. They're going to be called. If you're like me, when I retired, Colonel Phillips retired 6 months after I did. So whenever he was my supervisor, it was contact me first. So I could tell them, hey, my immediate supervisor you could be able to get a hold of, he's retired and I don't know how to get a hold of him. Okay? There's nothing wrong with that. So now we're into that job. Remember, this is where I want to paste under duties and accomplishments. We scroll down and I'm going to put my paragraphs that pertain to this job that I did here. One thing you have to remember is that the mouse is going to start right here. You've got to hit enter and then put in your first paragraph. If you just come right here and put in your first paragraph, this first paragraph is going to be jammed underneath all this information, and it's going to look like a hot mess. You can't control spacing in USA Jobs. So space here, input your information. When you get here, hit enter, space. Then if that's the only paragraph going into this job experience, type in key accomplishment, and then type your accomplishment, and then hit space again. If not, your key accomplishment will be sitting right on top of the narrative of your next job. Okay? Keep going back and forth and looking at it. Then what we do is save work experience. Boom! And then right there it is. I can go in and edit it anytime I want. I can add my next job experience. And I can see it right here. I can go edit or I can go delete. Then I go next. Oops. When I go next, I'm going to go into education. Ooh. Right? So right here, add education. What I want to do is make sure that I'm putting in my formal education. So I'm going to put my college, then I'm going to put my degree. I don't have to pick the semester hours if I don't want to. Any relevant coursework can go right here. So when I applied for my job here at the AFRC, they wanted folks with experience dealing with different cultures. And so one of the classes that I took for my bachelor's was educating individuals from diverse cultures and backgrounds. So I just typed it right there. Do I have to write a bullet on that? No, because I've already showed that I've got training. Great piece of advice there. So again, I can continue to add education or I can go next. You can see my education's right here and I can edit it here. All right, now we're going to add references. You're allowed 3 to 5. So name, contact number, flight chief, professional, personal. Never, ever, ever, never, ever pick a personal reference. Okay? Because they are biased. They know you. It's personal. Right? Stick with professional. Pick people that are currently doing the job that you're applying for. Pick people that supervise people that are currently doing the job that you apply for. That's awesome because they can always say, I definitely could see Mike Rudisell being an admin doing such and such. Okay? Now we're going to get into the job-related training. This is where all that extra training comes in, right here. Okay? We're not talking about self-aid buddy care and your small arms training and all that. You only want to put your additional job-related training that pertains to the job announcement, such as relocation manager, unit sponsor monitor, e-sponsorship trainer, maybe conflict resolution, effective forms of communication, because those are used all the time no matter what your job is. And it's great for your employer to know that you've already been trained on how to resolve inter-office conflict. Then again, the additional information. Now this is my most favorite place, real quickly, because this is the one spot on the resume where you're going to tell the HR person why you're the best hire. That's what you're going to do here. Everything else is quantified experience, but this is where you're going to tell them why you want this job and why you think they should hire you. My 10 years of experience with the relocation program throughout my many levels of membership in the armed forces, I know firsthand how one person can set the standard of a PCS experience for a family, either good or bad. I want to ensure that families on my watch only experience the good, but if the bad should happen, they have the knowledge, confidence, and preparation and assistance needed to overcome it. That's why I wanted this job, to make sure that the problems I had when I transitioned were not the problem members behind me were going to have. Okay? It's a great piece of advice. It may sound a little flowery and everything, but again, be honest with yourself. Now you can upload up to 10 documents here. So your college transcripts, your DD Form 214 and the like. All right, I know I'm coming close to my hour time limit, but it's imperative that we go through the SA hiring assessment. This is something that was added in August of 2018. So most of the federal occupations require you to do an assessment if you have not had this position in the past. It is important that you understand it, and right here is the sample website for you to go to, so that way you can see a couple of the sample questions. Here's the catch to this. Because USA Jobs has had such a plethora of applicants, they're finding that they have more non-qualified applicants applying, so it took more time to go through everybody's qualifications. So they developed this hiring assessment. You're going to get an email after you apply, and it wants you to complete this assessment within 1 to 2 days. What's going to happen, if you fail this assessment, you will not be eligible to apply for another job in that occupational series for 1 year. Okay? Not trying to frighten you off, okay, because I understand not everyone's a great test taker, but I want you to be advised as to what's going on, and that there is a sample test. It's only one question from each of the 5 areas, but it is a sample for you to go in and take a look at what they're going to be asking you. Some people are not very good at math or things like that, so when we look at it, you've got occupational math, occupational judgment, occupational interaction, occupational reasoning, occupational reading. Okay? Those are the 5 areas. And again, you can be very qualified to do the job and get crashed on the assessment, and then now you have to wait. So just like if you apply for an O300 and you go to take the assessment and you fail it, you won't be able to apply for another 300 series, even a direct hire, because you've been deemed not qualified. Okay? So it's important